Okay, my dear students, we are going to start today's lecture. So today we are going to discuss chapter number 5. It is about organizations and legal structure. Let me say Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to each one of you. So, my dear students and my engineers, viewers, we are going to discuss today and talk on chapter number 5. So, we will discuss about organizations and legal structure. So, means we will try to learn about types of organizations. With this, you will be able to draw the organization of your project or your company or your department. So if you establish a new company, so you will be able to draw the organization, how your organization will be a suitable organization for your firm or company. And then we will discuss legal structure. So how we should register companies in the government department, if we have to start a new business or new company, so how we should register, whether it's sole proprietorship or it will be a partnership or corporation. So we will learn these kind of things. So with this, we move forward to the next slide, inshallah. So before going to the organizations, this time a new topic we are going to discuss joint venturing. Joint venture, a group of firms to complete a project. Okay, a joint venture, that we make a joint venture to join a group of firms for the completion of a project. The bonding companies wanted to share their risk. Okay. The joint venture is a business relationship undertaken by two or more companies or firms to form a legal entity for the purpose of performing a specific work or a project. So, if you want to complete a project, and the companies, because one company may not have, total capacity to execute that project. And to share the risk or bonding capacity, like for a metro project, we should have a track and on ground or elevated track and tunneling. Tunnel with tunnel boring machine, and then we have to make a station. So there are a lot of civil works, and there is a rail track, and then there is trains and communication system. So in those cases, some companies, one company cannot do by their own everything. So they make joint venture for the purpose of the project. So when project will finish, this joint venture will finish. Okay. So it's like they want to share their risk and bonding capacity to arrange a performance bond or bid bond or payment bond. So these kind of things. Company join together and they register a new joint venture in a country where the project is located. So when project will finish, this joint venture will also finish. Okay? And then every employees will go back to their parent companies. Okay. So let's see as now in your book they are going to point out that this Hoover Dam is completed as a joint venture. Okay. They are giving some examples that these kind of projects in the past they have been completed as a joint venture by the companies. So here, okay, I'm showing my photograph. It's over the Hoover Dam. So it was a very nice trip that we passed over the Hoover Dam. Actually, we went for to attend a conference. We went to first Phoenix, Phoenix in Arizona, and then from Phoenix we went to a small city, Flagstaff. So the conference was in Northern Arizona University, and we stayed there for 3-4 days, and then we visited also from Northern Arizona University. We went to see Grand Canyon. It was a very nice trip, and then by road we traveled from Northern Arizona University or Grand Canyon to Northern Arizona University, and from Flagstaff to Las Vegas. So it was a very nice trip that we traveled past this Hoover Dam, and we saw this Hoover Dam. So this is a picture I'm showing. This Hoover Dam was also built as a joint venture project. Okay, I would like to say something from the previous chapter number 4. Actually, I discussed in 2 parts. So part 1 was more important, but the slide was little lengthy. So then more people are trying to watch the second part, but less people are, watching the first part of the contracts because they think maybe the slides are lecture is lengthy, so they are opting for the short lecture. But I would suggest that you should go through the part number 1, and it is very informative for regarding the construction contracts. Okay, with this we move forward. So they are going to, in your book, they are going to mention that this channel tunnel also, it was 50.5 kilometer undersea rail tunnel linking UK with France. So this was also built as a joint venture, So lowest depth at the lowest point was 75 meter deep. So this tunnel was built in the seabed, linking UK with France. So this project was also completed as a joint venture. So with this, we will come back to the main topic. What we are going to discuss today: types of organizations. Okay. So in this, we will discuss in 2 ways. One is management organizations, and then is legal structure. Okay, legal organizations. So first, we will go with the management organizations. So in this, we will discuss 5 types: functional organization, matrix organization, project organization, task force, and then line and staff. Okay. In the legal structure, mainly we will discuss 3, but we will add 1 more, inshallah. So sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporations. So let's see as we will go with the management functional organization. A functional organization is a common type of organizational structure in which the organization is divided into smaller groups based on specialized functional areas such as design, or construction, or IT, information technology, finance, marketing. So in this type, the jobs are specialized and grouped according to business roles, functions, and skills they require. The organization is called a functional organization. Okay. So see, if we present a functional organization, like they are a group, a corporation, they have human resources, finance, and then other functional group is marketing, and then other one is engineering, manufacturing, procurement. Okay. So if we see marketing is like we have international sales, domestic sales, customer service, and in engineering we divided electronic engineering, software engineering, mechanical engineering, and civil engineering design. So it's similarly manufacturing further we divided fabrication, assembly, testing, production, and scheduling. And procurement, we have a purchasing department and receiving and inspections of those materials or whatever. So these are like they have been divided according to their specialized functions, functional organizations. So similarly, another example of functional organization here is a managing director, managing director MD, and then they have function commercial, like a senior estimator, marketing. Okay. So under the project director, there is a senior contract manager and then project managers, project managers. So there's a quantity senior quantity surveying, site quantity surveyor, and site quantity surveyor. Okay. Senior engineers, they have site engineers for the projects. And then they have administration, finance, and under the finance they have finance and personnel. So this is like one example of how they have a functional organization is going to work. So they have divided according to their functions. Then second type of organization is we are going to discuss is matrix organization. So a matrix organization is one in which there is a dual or multiple managerial accountability and responsibility. So these are very large and complex organizations. In a matrix, there are usually two chains of commands, one along the functional lines and the other along the project or product or the service lines or the client lines. The matrix organizational form vary from one in which the project manager holds a very strong managerial position to one in which he plays only a coordinating role. The matrix is considered first in which there is a balance of power between the project and functional managers. It is recognized as a balanced situation. So you see if there is like project managers and project managers, here we have like project 1, project 2, project up to n projects. And then there is a functional group like this, functional group level A, functional group level B, level C, and up to level D, or further more functional group like project manager. If they have to consider the designing, this is maybe design for structural design department, and then functional group is for hydraulic design, or then it's environmental related design. So geotechnical related design. So there are many functions, as many as they are required. So then for each project, there will be project manager and they will be dealing with these functional managers. Okay. Now, if the project managers and functional managers, they have like equal balance power, so we call a balance matrix. But if there is a, you see, it could be functional managers, they are more strong. So then it's we call it, like they have mentioned before in the beginning, there's a strong or weak matrix. Okay, strong matrix or weak matrix. So it's if they have like more strong managerial position, so it will be they are a strong matrix. Or if they just project manager is just a coordinating role, and functional managers they have more power, so it will be a strong matrix. Otherwise, if the project manager have more power, then it will be like it's a project manager, they have more say in that organization. So it's we divide it's a strong matrix or weak matrix or a balanced. Okay. So ideally, it should be a balanced matrix. So let's see. The third type of organization is, in civil engineering projects. Usually, we use this project organization. A project organization is a structure that facilitates the coordination and implementation of project activities. Project organization is a structure that facilitates the coordination and implementation of project activities. Its main reason is to create an environment that fosters interactions among the team members with the minimum amount of disruptions, overlap, or conflict. So this is like, project manager, he has to play a good coordinating role between all the team members. So there should not be like overlap of the responsibilities, and there should not be like any conflict or disruptions among the team members. So they should work in harmony. But it's more related to the project. Civil engineering projects, they are like slow not like manufacturing, so it take a long time. So here they are putting like a corporation. They have a marketing unit, human resource unit, finance, legal unit, and then they have below is project managers. Okay, project manager A, project manager B, project manager C for different projects, because at a time a organization has many projects in hand. Some projects are big, some are small, some projects they are large or small, and some projects they have like duration is small, and some projects have longer duration. So these are different kinds of projects. So if for each project there will be a project manager. Under the project manager will be like engineering, manufacturing, or procurement, or whatever the they are subcontractors, design department, or whatever the arrangement of the projects. So it's that idea is that we are going to discuss is a project-based organization. Okay, in a simple form, like in a simple form, you are have this as an example of a simple project organization. It's a project manager at the top, then they have an office manager, they have a planning manager, planning engineer, or planning manager. So they have a construction manager. Under the construction managers, there could be a lot many subcontractors working under the construction manager. So they control the site work. Okay. So a lot many subcontractors for foundation, for piling, for maybe for brickwork, for plastering, for any fall ceiling. So so there is a they have site engineers, or they may hire a director. Direct hire is like they hire some labor on daily basis. Okay. So they have a contract manager who make the contract between the organization and with the subcontractors. And there is a design and technical managers who are going to prepare all the shop drawings from the design drawings. So they provide all the technical support to the construction site. Okay, so this is like a project organization. So according to your project, whether it's a small or big, so you need to draw the organization chart according to your project. Okay. So if the project is big, so organization will be more complex. If the project is small duration, small amount, 6-month project, 1-year project, then the organization will be simple organizations. Now, the next is third and fourth type of organization we are going to discuss is task force organization. Okay. A task force is a temporary interdepartmental group formed to study an issue and make recommendations. Okay. So task force organization is like a temporary organization. Okay. They actually the employees they belong to the parent organizations, but to accomplish a task, we are going to make a task force. Okay. When task will finish, these people will go back to their parent organizations. Like here, they task force for global health, or so what they are going to discuss. Their our emphasis is to define the problem and what will be the define the what will be the outcome and how much is the timeline. So what is the methodology, and prepare their report. So submit the report and go back to this. So it's a task force. Okay, task force. In other words, in civil works, sometime if there is a, say, for example, there is an earthquake in the region, so now, and you need doctors, they should move to that place. So then government, what they can do, they can make a task force from each hospital. They will say, okay, from this hospital, okay, 10 doctors will move to the earthquake site, and from this hospital, 5 doctors, and from this hospital, 8 doctors. Okay, maybe they will move, 50 doctors to that site. So then when that they will need that will finish the task, so they will come back to their parent hospitals. Okay. Similarly, there is sometimes, for in civil works, there is mining, or some they have to prepare some report or some process. So they take experts from different departments of government and make a task force. And they will work together for a couple of months and complete that task and then submit the report and then go back to their parent departments. So this is like we call it a task force organization. The last, fifth is we are going to discuss is a line and staff organization. This is not very common in civil works, but line and staff organization combine the line organization with the staff departments that support and advise line departments. Okay, so there is a line line staff organization structure attempts to render a large and complex enterprise more flexible without sacrificing managerial authority. So these organizations, line and staff, we use especially in military. You know, military, and all military, they work on basis of line and staff organization. Okay, they have their president, so they maintain the chain of command from top to bottom. Okay, the authority will flow from top to bottom. Senior is senior, junior is junior. Okay, and then the other staff, lower departments, they can horizontally they can coordinate. Okay, they can coordinate, they can talk and discuss, but the authority will flow from top to bottom. So this is an example of this line and staff organization. All military organizations, they are like under a line and staff. So authority is with the line, you know, vertically from top to bottom. So orders will be from top to bottom. The juniors has to follow the order of the seniors. Okay. And similarly, but the staff responsibility means the departments, HR department can coordinate with the production department, and HR department can coordinate with the quality or with the quality officer. So HR officer, they can horizontally, they can coordinate and talk and discuss the things. But in case of orders, they have to follow from the top. Okay, so this is a line and staff organizations. Okay. So with this, we discussed all the 5 organizations. Okay, it's if you remember that we were having a functional organization. Okay, a matrix organization, a strong, weak matrix. Then project organization. So usually for civil works, we follow the project organization. Task force organization, and line and staff organization. Okay. So we discuss these 5 types of management organization. So all this is like we divide organization in the way we are going to manage the things on practically on site. So we divide organizations in 5 types. Okay. And in the legal way, the way we are going to register the companies, so there are other 3 or 4 types we will discuss inshallah next. So in line and staff, you know, as I said, it's a military organization, because sometimes, you know, because military people, they have to restore the peace, or they have to bomb, you know. So unions, they should not make arguments, you know. So this is like they need to follow the order from senior to junior and keep the maintain the chain of command, you know, from top to bottom. Okay, so with this we come to the second part of second part of our today's lecture is about legal structure. Legal structure. So the way we are going to register the companies in the government for starting new business. So it will the way owner need to deal with the payment of taxes. Okay. So the owner of the organization, the way they have to pay the taxes, or they have to keep control over the business, or they have to, legal liability, how much they have the liability, um, so responsibility, about the liability of the organization in case of accident or something, happen, or um, anything wrong. So legally they have to face these things. So then we divide these organization into proprietorship, or we call it sole proprietorship. Then second is a partnership. Third is limited liability company. A limited liability company. Fourth is corporation. But three are more important, proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. Third one is just mixed approach between the other three. Okay. Third one is a limited liability company is a mixed approach between partnership and corporation. So sometimes proprietorship is. But first three, one, two, and fourth, proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. They are very important to understand. So if you can understand these three, then the fourth will be easy to understand. Okay. So legally, the way we are going to register those business organizations as a new companies. Okay. So let's see, we are going to start with the proprietorship. Okay. A single person owns and operates a business activity and makes all the major decisions. The company is referred to as proprietorship. So this single person, they are the owner, and they are going to operate the business activity. Okay, so all decisions he is going to make, he or she is going to make. An individual owns and operates the firm, retaining personal control. So it's like if one person is the owner, and he is going to operate that firm, and he keeps all the control. Okay. So proprietor is taxed as an individual, and there is no separate taxation of the firm. So because it's an individual, company belongs to the individual of one person. So sole proprietorship. So it means is like first income tax, or the way he is going to pay taxes. So it will be for the firm, and for him it will be same. Upon the death of the owner, the proprietorship ceases to exist. Okay. Assets are normally divided among the inheritors or heirs. So if a person dies, this proprietorship will finish. Okay, will finish, and then whatever the assets of this organ will go to his family. Okay, maybe his wife or son and daughters. Okay. So the warriors, they can divide these, or who want to sell his part to the other partner, so they can decide whatever they want to do. Okay. So this is like it's a person is going to die, so then this proprietorship is going to finish. Now, second part is partnership. Okay. Second, the way we register business is partnership. Partnership is based on the principle of division of risk and pooling of management and financial resources. So in this, they are partners. Okay. Partners share the profit and losses of the firm according to their degree of ownership, as defined in the partnership agreement. Okay. So maybe there could be two partner, or there could be three partner or more. Okay. So if there is a suppose two partner, one partner A, maybe they have 60% stake, and partner B, they have 40% stake in the business. So if in case of three, whatever they decide, okay, party A has like 50% stake, party B has 30% stake, and party C has then 20% stake. So usually the leading company who have more stake, they become the they keep the control of that partnership organization. Partners share the profit and losses of the firm according to the degree of ownership as defined in the partnership agreement. time and level of expertise may be recognized. Yes, this is time and level of expertise may be recognized. So if you make agreement, like because when you make organization, so everybody will be getting salary in the organization from the organization. Okay, after 1 year, they will see how much is the profit or loss. Okay, so then profit will be shared among the partners. Okay, so it's now what he said is a time and level of expertise. Maybe one person is degree holder, and other person is not a degree holder, and they can they can pool money, and other person give because of his education, so his salary will be based on his education. So that there his expertise may be recognized, but parties or partner they have to agree on this one. Partners they must have to agree on this the way they are going to make their internal agreement. So now the third is a limited liability company. Okay, a limited liability company is a business structure whereby the owners are not personally liable for the company's debt or liabilities. A limited liability company is a business structure whereby the owner or the owner of are not personally liable for the company's debt and liabilities. Okay, so they are they don't have to pay all the clear all the liabilities or all the debts. Limited liability companies are hybrid entities that combine the characteristics of a corporation with those of a partnership or sole proprietorship. So it's like a mixed approach. It's a mixed approach because many it's a hybrid form. So many people will be in that involved in this business. It's not a sole proprietorship. Okay. The owner of limited liability company are called members. Okay, owners. So there could be all the members. They are the owners. Okay, all the members in the partnership, the limited liability company, they are members. Each member is an owner of the company. There are no owners share as in corporation, but they will not they will not buy shares as in corporation. So they will not be listed in the stock market. Profits are subject to social security and Medicare taxes. So whatever the profit they have according to the law of the country, they will have to pay the taxes as required in the country. Like they have to pay maybe social security in USA if they are this company is in USA, and they have to pay Medicare taxes. Owner of a limited liability company may end up paying more taxes than owners of a corporation. So sometimes this happen like people who are buy stocks from the corporations, so they need to pay less taxes. But if the people are in this type of company, limited liability, so they may need to pay more taxes. Forming an limited liability company will not protect you against personal liability for your own negligence or malpractice or other personal wrongdoing that you commit related to your business. Okay? So if somebody in the limited company they are doing something wrong or malpractice, so they will be responsible for that one. Okay? They will be responsible for whatever they are doing are responsible. So if anybody doing fraud or negligence or malpractices or something wrong, so then they are liable or they are responsible for that one. So for this, they will not be like get any concession. Now let's come to the last one is a corporation. Okay, corporation is a public entity. A corporation is perpetual. Okay, corporation is a public limited company. Public limited means it belongs to the public. Okay, because the public can buy shares and contribute. So public is also have ownership in that company, and corporation is perpetual. So it's everlasting. So it means it's not like a proprietorship. If the owner is going to die, the company will finish. Okay. So it's MD of the corporation. If MD of the corporation dies, So from the board of directors, they will choose another MD, managing director of the corporation. So it is a continuous and it's a perpetual. Corporations in which a small number of persons hold all of the stocks in the firm are referred to as a close or closely held corporation. So all those corporations, because in construction especially, they like that the corporation, they keep the ownership closely, so not, so we call it a closely held corporation when they are going to, a small number of persons who holds all of the stocks in the firm. So we call it a close or closely held corporation. A public corporation allows its stocks to be bought and sold freely. Okay, in big companies like all these corporation in Saudi Arabia, like we can give example, this STC, Saudi Telecommunication Corporation, Saudi SEC, Saudi Electric Corporation. So all these are corporations. Okay, a public corporation allows its stocks to be bought and sold freely. So this is like they can allow their stocks to be bought and sold in the stock market. So a number of shares, corporation, a number of shares and the share value of a corporation are arbitrary and are selected to facilitate the recognition of ownership rather than actual value of the corporate assets. So now he is going to give an example that if there are 1,000 shares, 1,000 shares are issued and the total asset value is 100,000. Total asset value of the company is 100,000. Therefore, each share has a book value of 100. Okay. So if because total value of the company is 100,000, if we divide that by 1,000, so then each share value will come to the dollar 100. Okay. So each share value is dollar 100. So that by this way they have 1,000 shares. Okay. So 1,000 shares and each share value is 100. So total value of the company will be 100,000. So this is the way that these corporations, first time when they issue these, stocks, they sell shares in the stock market. So they fix the book value that they will not sell their shares less than this amount. Okay. So inshallah, a lot of things are coming. We will discuss step by step. Most construction firms hold their stocks closely and do not trade it publicly. Okay? So many construction firms they like to be like closely held because construction is a risky business and more profitable business. Okay? So they don't want to close it open. So they keep the stocks closely. The power to sell stocks can be and has been abused. This is also like happened in the past history. In US, many companies, I don't want to name those, but on the internet you can see a lot of that there this like inner trading or something. So and some company owners they fix very high salaries for them, $500,000 something. So they the power to sell stocks or the same company they buy do the inner trade. So there are a lot many complicated things, but so you can go and study from the internet. So, but this is happened in this capitalist system that the power to sell stocks can be and has been abused. Okay? If a stockholder dies, the inheritor are committed to offer stocks to the present stockholders before selling it to others. Okay, so now there is maybe board of directors. If any member from the board of directors will die, so they prefer to sell their family prefer to sell their stocks first to other board of directors or members. If they want to buy, so they can buy. If they don't want to buy, they can sell. So the heirs can, of course, decide simply to retain the stocks. So who are the waris inheritors? They can decide whether they want to keep their stocks. Okay, because if person dies, then those inheritors who are his waris, like his wife or son or daughter, so all family members. According to the Sharia law. So they will be the owner of those of their father or husband. So they can decide, simply how they have to move forward, with the stocks. So this is like a figure. This figure shows a legal ownership certificate in the construction industry. Like whenever you register a company in the as a sole proprietorship or partnership, so you need to show this registration. Every time you go for bidding, so you have to attach this. Like this is your company's registration form. So this is just an example of Halco Construction International. Now we are going to next topic we are going to discuss is comparison of legal structures. Okay, so which legal structure we are going to do the comparison. Okay, depending upon how a legal structure for the firm must consider these kind of things, like how they want to go with the taxation. Okay, so you need to compare that first usually people register proprietorship and then they convert it to partnership and then they convert it into public limited company and then they make it corporation. Okay, so depending upon how the things and how much you have the know-how, so the cost in starting the firm. Okay, how much there will be cost for registering, for other things to starting the firm, how you will generate your capital for the firm. So you need to think all and these kind of things. You need to think about what are the risks involved and what are the liabilities. Okay, so how you will be dealing this, how much money you have to do start a company. Okay, so how you are going to keep continuity of the firm. Okay, so how you maintain year by year by paying taxes and other things. So it's like you if you want to become company owner, so it's you have to consider that you must have business to run that company. So administrative flexibility and structure. Okay, you need to think how will be the administrative structure of your company and what kind of structure you are going to follow. Okay, whether you should better to go ahead with the proprietorship or go ahead with the partnership or with corporations. So these kind of things you should have knowledge about all these things. So what are the laws constraining operation of the company, laws constraining operations. Okay, and how attraction of additional capital, how you will raise funding, because if you are a corporation you can sell more stocks in the market, you can raise public funding. So we do these kind of things. In the next slides also we are going to compare and put more light on the comparison of legal structures. Stockholders cannot lose more than the value of their shares. Okay, now who are the partners or stockholders in the corporation? So they cannot lose more than their share value. Okay, if a company goes bankrupt, so it means whatever the stocks you have from that company or in that partnership, you will lose maximum that one. Okay, not the money in other business. Okay, so these are like rules and regulation for these structures. Partners cannot lose more than that of investment. Okay, so partners, if they are in the partnership company, then they cannot lose more than what they have invested in that company. If a partner dies, the partnership is dissolved. Okay, this we have discussed before also, that if a partner dies, So the partnership is dissolved. Okay, this then his or her inheritors, maybe son or daughter or wife, they can decide, that they want to continue the partnership or they want to take their share back and sell to the other partners. So uh, with the comparison of legal structure is still continue. Proprietorship and partnership rely on the personal borrowing to generate capital. Okay. Now, sole proprietorship or partnership, if they want to raise capital, so it depends upon their personal, how they have standing with those banks. So they can borrow the money from the banks based on how much standing they have with those banks or their links, or their, projects in hand or whatever. So they can generate a capital by this way. A corporate sells stocks to attract new capital by further distributing ownership. Okay? So now, if the companies are corporations, so corporations sometimes if they want to generate money, so they sell their more shares and stocks in the stock market, and then by this way they generate more capital, more funding for the company. Okay? So, say for example, first a corporation, they have, 80% shares with them, and they have just given to the public only 20%. So they can give up to 30% or more, but really, those board of directors, to keep the control, so they keep 51% with them, and 49% they can sell in the to the public, so that they can keep control of the corporation. So board of directors, they usually keep more than the half. But in construction, because closely held, maybe 95%, 90% stocks are with the owner, one owner, or with the one family, so things like this. Now, some couple of things we are going to discuss related to these stocks. So the topic we are going to discuss is market value or traded value. Okay, it's market value or traded value, same thing. The market value of a stock represents the price investors will pay to buy or sell the stock. Okay. The market value of a stock represents the price investors will pay to buy or sell the stock. Okay. So the way you are going to sell stocks in the open market. Okay. Market value does not always represent the actual value of the company. The term overvalued and undervalued compare the market value of a company's stocks to the company's actual value or book value. See now, if the book value, like you have issued a share of a book value of 100 real or $100 or 100 rupees or whatever the currency. So and then if that is being traded in the open market, that 100 book value, first time they issue for $100. Now that is being traded for 110 or 120 dollars or $130. So it means what the analyst will say that company is performing well and the stocks are overvalued than the book value. Okay? And if that $100 share is now being traded for $85 or maybe just $70, so it means company is book value was more and company is not in a good shape or making loss. So people confidence is not much, and the share value is being traded with less price. So it's the analyst or the company owner, they will think that they are undervalued. Their stocks are undervalued. So market value or traded value, some more comments. When a company stock sells for more than the company's book value per share, analysts consider the stocks overvalued. Analysts consider stocks that sells for less than the company's book value per share or undervalued. Okay, this we have discussed in the previous page. So they give also example for this one, just to explain it more. A company stock might traded at $17 per share, but the company has a book value per share is 15. So the book value is $15, and but it is being traded in the market for $17 per share. So analysts would consider this stock overvalued. Okay, so analysts will say that stock is overvalued because the market pay more per share than the company is worth. So in the beginning, what they have thought, so their company is it means performing well, and people are ready to buy stocks with more higher price. So we call it these market value or traded value, the way stocks are being traded in the stock market. Okay. So in the next point, we are going to discuss a little bit more about what is meaning by book value or par value. Okay. Some people call it book value, some people call it par value. Okay. So we are going to try to understand this terminology. If a company sold all of its assets and subtracted any liabilities, no company owns, they have some land, they have some capital money, or they have some equipment. So all these are like assets for the company. Okay? Assets, they have the land or they have the office, they have buildings. So this will be their assets. Subtracted, if a company sold all of its assets and subtracted any liabilities, so like company has to pay some money for they have taken loan, or they have to return that loan, or they have bought some material, they have to pay payment for that one. So this is the liability on the company. That company need to clear all their liability, whatever they have borrowed, they have to give it back. Okay? So if a company sold all of its assets and subtracted any liabilities, the remaining value investor would receive represent the company's book value. So this will be the company's worth, okay, book value. Now, the book value represents the total value of all the assets minus any liability. So book value will be all whatever the company owns minus all the liabilities. So this will be the book value of the company or the firm. So how much they own at worth at this moment. Book value often gets referred to as shareholder equity or owner's equity. Book value means this is like the owner, whatever they own. Okay, so it's a shareholders equity or owner's equity. Okay? In terms of corporation, it's a shareholders equity, or in terms of partnership, it's owner's equity. The worth of the company with the owner. Book value really ties into how accountants value the company on a per share basis and has nothing to do with how the market values the company stocks. Okay, so book value is based on the way they have decided, like we have discussed before last time, that there is a company, the total worth is 100,000, and then they one share value is 100 real, so they have issued 1,000 shares. So this is like the book value of the company. Now, book value or par value in finance and accounting means stated value or face value. Okay, par value or book value in finance and accounting means stated value or face value. Par value stocks has no relation to the market. Okay, so book value or par value, these stocks has no relation with the market. This is the way the owners are going to decide. Par value of a share of stocks is the value stated in the corporate charter, below which shares of that class cannot be sold upon initial offering. So first time the company, the way they decide that this is the worth of the company, and they will sell the shares. So share value, one share value will be this much, and total number of shares will be this much. So based on that, this is like in the corporate charter, they are going to decide in the beginning, that they will not sell their stocks less than this one. That is the book value. The issuing company promises not to issue further shares below par value. Thus, par value is the nominal value of a security which is determined by the issuing company to be its minimum price. Okay. Par value is the nominal value of the security or stock which is determined by the company, issuing company, to be its minimum price. So this is like book value is the minimum price that they are going to fix first time when they are going to sell the stocks in the stock market. So they are going to decide that, okay, we will not sell any stock less than this price to the public in the stock market. So we discuss what is meaning by book value or par value or face value, okay? And we discuss the difference between book value and market value. So with this, gentlemen, we have finished this lecture. So in this lecture we have tried to discuss organizations structure, and then we have tried to discuss legal structure, the way we are going to register those companies companies in the legal way in the government. Okay, so if you have to this it helps if you have to start your business, so how you should be, your organization will look like. So you should be able to draw your own organization chart for your department, for your company, or for your firm. So and what organization chart is more suitable. So in civil works, usually we work with the project organization, and the same you can draw the organization chart for your company. And then how we have to register our business with the government by starting a new firm. Okay, so whether we should register as a proprietorship or we should start our business as a partnership. So of course, corporations, there are rules and regulations that companies, if you want to list in the stock market, you have to follow the rules and regulation of that country to list your company in the stock market. Okay? So this is like when companies become big, then they become corporations, and then they can sell their stocks to the public and to generate money from the public. So it means public will become or have become owner in your company. Okay, they buy the stocks and they have the ownership in your company. So then it will be a corporation. It's like a public limited company. So all big corporations, if we take example in Saudi Arabia, like this, what we discuss, Saudi STC, Saudi Telecommunication Corporation for mobile, for these landline mobile, even this Saudi Airline is a corporation, or Saudi Electric Company is a corporation. So these are corporations. And small, like in Saudi Arabia, they call Muassasa proprietorship. So it's an individual company, proprietorship, individual company. Partnership is there are more than one partner. Okay, there are more than one partner. So with this, gentlemen, we have finished this chapter about the project organizations and legal structure of organizations. So with this, we are going to close our today's lecture. So let me say, Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Thank you very much for your attention.